If you're here, then you already know who she is. Lydia Tár is many things. Thank you for joining us, Maestro.
Thank you.
Cate, watching Tár, I got so immersed in the movie. There were times where I just forgot I was watching a fictional feature and just thought that Lydia was a real person. It was that immersive for me. Did you lose your sense of self in the same way playing this part?
Yes, the membrane became quite thin, I think because the experience was so intense, but it's also to do with the filmmaking. Todd really, from the beginning conversations, he really wanted the orchestral rehearsals, and I think the film generally, to be very much fly on the wall. He wanted you to feel like you were not only inside the room with these people, but inside the mind and concerns of the characters, but I felt very alive making the film. It was really exciting.
Todd, certainly one of the themes of the movie is that it sort of presents, I think, a slow motion cancellation from the perspective of someone who is canceled. The script is deliberately ambiguous about what Lydia may or may not have done. Did you ever have a definitive answer in your own mind as you were writing?
The impulse for writing the film was really about a lot of questions that I'd been pondering for a couple of years about power. And so that sort of writing the script was sort of an attempt to sort of look at why I was asking those questions. And so in terms of filling in any narrative certainty, the answer is no. It would be completely antithetical to why I wrote the script in the first place.
What drew me to the whole story is that there is no judgment. It is kind of vague. But those things are sometimes vague. Of course, we live in this world of social media. That is an added complication, I would say, because you can fake things. So that is one thing that I think is an important conversation to have. But there are so many other things to talk about in this film. And what it mainly does is raise questions so that we all start a conversation about it without having judged already.
Cate, a key line to me certainly is when Lydia's teacher says something along the lines of, to be accused is to be guilty in this current climate. That seems what people who are canceled like to believe, but is it more about holding people, as Todd said, in positions of power accountable when behavior gets tough?
We live in a world where cancel culture is on everyone's tongue. So of course, when you make a movie now, that is a texture in any movie that is made. So it's undeniable, but I think it's much more a meditation on power itself and who is culpable in maintaining those systems of power and what happens to the human beings when they come very close to the flame of power and how complicated that is. And I think that, I remember my mother was saying the other night, she said, well, people won't like her. And I said, I think, Mum, they won't want to like her because she does and says and is involved in things that we all do, and we don't like to look at those things in ourselves. And so I think it places the audience in a really kind of startling, breathtaking relationship to themselves and to the world in which they live. Of course, it's set in the classical music world, and she is a musician extraordinaire, but she could equally have been an architect. Or the CEO of a major banking corporation. And I think the fact she's female allows us to have much more nuanced conversations around the nature of power and the corrupting nature of power. Because in a way, she's somebody who has struggled to get where she is, who is incredibly gifted and is now running an institution as much as she is being an artist within that institution. And that is a really, really complicated place to be. And that's what's great about the film.
ISM, or Incorporated Society of Musicians, just released a study in which they kind of have said that sexual harassment, bullying, and racism is at its all-time worst in the classical music industry. People feel like if they speak up, that they will face repercussions or not be rebooked. And this is an industry in which the vast majority of people are freelancers or self-employed, so cannot afford to lose work. The release of this film is perfect timing, and it just means that people are finally starting to talk about these things. And until we fix this, loads and loads of people are going to be, freelancers are going to be vulnerable to these horrific conditions and situations that can arise.
It doesn't provide any easy answers. I think the best, most exciting thing that we've heard is that people want to go back and see the movie again because there's so much to talk about, and I think that's really rare, and that's why you need to see it in the cinema, because the questions it asks are epic. It's not just a small question about cancel culture, it's much more kind of Greek, I think, than that.